This video was made possible thanks to the EA Creator Network. Thank you to EA for providing me a copy of the pack early. Really quickly, before we jump into today's video, I just wanted to remind you guys that you can still use my creator code on the EA app. Currently, there is a pretty big sale going on and some quite big packs, including businesses and hobbies, have a pretty decent percentage off. And so if you are thinking about maybe picking something up in the sale, or maybe you're thinking about getting the new expansion pack, my code does also work on pre-orders too. If you use code JessicapieYT at checkout, it helps directly support me and my channel and all the builds that I make, as I do earn a small commission fee from your purchase. I say this pretty much every single time I mention it, but again, I just wanted to thank everyone that has used my code in the past, or even if you're considering using it in the future. It's just really lovely for you to think of me when, you buy your Sims packs, and so a really big thank you. But because I've said all this, I just want to say that this section of the video is sponsored by the EA Creator Network. But anyway, let's get into the video. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome back to the Sims 4 speedrunning video, or welcome to the channel if you are new here. So in today's video I'm going to build the brand new world of Innisgreen, which is the world that is coming with the next expansion pack. It has not been released yet, but it's coming out next week, and it is called The Sims 4 Enchanted By Nature, and I'm going to be building a fairy family home. So this house ends up having 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, and it's built on a 30 by 20 lot. Now, of course, like I just said, I'm building it with the new expansion pack, which hasn't yet been released. It comes out next week, The Sims 4 Enchanted by Nature. And of course, the first thing that I wanted to do was jump into the game and just do a build, pretty much using the majority of the content that we've got from this new expansion pack. Now, I said that this is a family home. Of course, anyone could live here, but with this new DLC, we got some really nice like kid-related items and like nursery-related items. I have actually got a bit of a bone to pick with EA over one of the beds, and we'll talk about it when we get over to it. But I just really wanted to sit down and just build like a really cutesy, foresty kind of family home for, I was personally thinking, a mum and her 2 fairy little girls. And yeah, I'm really happy with the way it turned out, and so I really hope you like it as well. But anyway, moving on from that and getting on and talking a little bit more about the build itself and also what I'm doing right now. So as you can see, I've built the shape of the build already, and now I'm coming in and pretty much just looking at all the different wallpapers, seeing what I basically wanted to go for this build. Now, for this expansion pack, I was very close to doing a building by overview, but then last minute I decided against it. But let me know for like future, maybe like game packs or expansion packs or whatever, if you would like to see me do a building by overview, because normally I go into the game when I first get my hands on an expansion pack, go into the biggest lot available and just pull everything out of the catalogue, look at all the different swatches. But for this expansion pack, I was really debating doing it for this one, because I don't know, I just thought it would be quite nice. But then last minute I decided against it. But let me know if that is something that you would like to see from me in the future. But in terms of the shape of this house, right, bear with me, because it is a little bit of a trust the process situation. Currently, the way that I built the house, love it from the front. From the back, it's a little bit questionable. But I do change it, and it's a very much process of changing it and figuring out how I want it to look. But I really wanted to have the idea of, there's this little like fairy castle almost, like in the forest. It's got a little bit of a lake, it's got a little bit of a hill leading up to the front door. But then with doing that, I'm building a 30 by 20, and the terrain manipulation, the way right now the house is looking, in my head it was going to go a little bit differently. And so the way that I've kind of structured the back of the house, we got a little bit of an overhang, which I wasn't too fussed about, because we're building a fairy house, they're a little bit whimsical, they're a little bit odd sometimes, and so I wasn't too fussed about that. But the way that I currently built the house, in my mind I was thinking, pop a lovely little hill behind it, make it look like the house is almost like nestled into the hill. Doesn't end up working out, but you'll see it. It's just a very much trust the process situation for this build. But currently over here, as you can see, I'm coming in and I'm placing down some of these new beautiful like wisteria vines, kind of like underneath the window and almost like wrapping around some of the walls. Now, they are from the new expansion pack, which is probably a little bit of a given. Pretty much everything actually that you can see on the screen right now is from, yeah, the Enchanted By Nature DLC. We've got some of the new wallpapers, the new fencing, one of the new floorings. Over here, hang on, this glass wallpaper, I do end up using it. I was a bit like worried about it at first. I do end up using it in this build, but now in the game we've got glass wallpapers. Do you know what? That's actually going to be game changing for like little greenhouse sections, or if you want to have like a really modern house. It's just going to be so perfect. Like I said, I do end up using it, but the way that I placed down at that wallpaper initially, I was going to have it so it was kind of almost on the right hand side of the build, ends up being at the back of the build on the bottom level. And by the way that I structured this house, we kind of have a bit of like a workspace, kind of garden space, and then also kind of like the living space. You can probably already tell, but it's built on 3 levels, and the first level is kind of the apothecary section. I really hope I've got the pronunciation for that word correct. I'm not going to lie to you, I didn't even know that this word existed until recently when we got the new expansion pack. But yeah, pretty much with the Enchanted By Nature DLC, one of the new almost like features is your Sims can use this little like apothecary table and they can make all these different types of medicines. And so I'm thinking like maybe a Sim's a little bit poorly, maybe they've got like a tummy ache or something, and your Sim can pop downstairs. There's kind of like the main office of medicine, if you want to put it that way. In there I placed down the new table where you can make all these medicines, but then I also placed down like these bookcases and also some kitchen counters, and I went through the debug menu and I found all the different like random bits and bobs basically from this expansion pack, and placed down like loads of different potions and loads of different like bowls of moss and petals and just random stuff. It's very magical down there. But then you go through a set of double doors and then you're in basically like a massive underground greenhouse. It might be a little bit over the top with the amount of different planters that I placed down in there, but I'm thinking for gameplay. So I've definitely had houses before in the past, actually a fair few houses in the game, where I've got a Sim and she's gardener, and I want them to have so many different little like planting sections for all their different like herbs and fruits and vegetables and stuff. And so a couple of times I've had houses that are like basements of plants, normal plants. I feel like I need to specify that, but I've had it before in the past. But for this build I just thought, you got a Sim and they're into medicine, you know, they're into this new apothecary skill, it'll be just so perfect just to have almost like a dedicated space for, yeah, all the different like herbs and stuff that they can put in all their little like handmade medicines. I just thought it was a really lovely idea. But either way, as well as that, in this house on the top level it just ends up being like where the kitchen is, where the bathrooms are, where like the lounge and the bedrooms and stuff are. I will say I do end up changing kind of like the floor plan layout a little bit, because currently, like I said, I just assumed in my head that I'd be able to do a bit of a hill behind the house and kind of like blend it in. It doesn't end up looking that way, but you'll see it. You'll see the whole entire process. But either way, moving over, as you can see, I've now started coming in and incorporating a little tiny duck pond. Well, I say duck pond, it actually ends up having swans in it, but duck, swan, kind of similar-ish, just one's much bigger than the other. But yeah, I end up making a little pond for some swans. In my head, swans are quite magical, they're quite fairy related, but I also don't know if it's because growing up there was this one film, it was a Barbie film, I loved Barbie when I was younger, also loved The Sims, but there was this one Barbie film called Barbie Swan Lake, if you've ever seen it. If not, really good watch actually, I'd probably still even watch it today. But there is this Barbie film and it's Barbie Swan Lake, and there's fairies in that film, I'm pretty sure, and there's this like big pond, and I'm sure at one point you see some swans, and to me swans feel quite magical. And so in this build I thought, yeah, I'm gonna have a nice little like swan pond at the front, and you can see I've already placed down a live edit bridge kind of like going over the pond itself. Now unfortunately the way that live edit menu items work, I couldn't make it so the bridge could have been, you know, like usable. Like your Sims can't actively walk over that bridge. Didn't test it with a Sim flying over it, because, you know, with fairies, they can fly now. So, I mean, they might be able to fly around it, but I purposely made it so they can still gain access to the other side of the bridge. They just kind of walk around the pond. But with fairies, because I had a little playtesting fairy for this build, you can click somewhere and just click instantly fly here. That is going to be so handy in so many different future builds. But yeah, I did just want to mention the bridge, unfortunately it's not functional. Your Sims can't actively walk over it, but they might be able to fly over it. I do want to use that bridge in a future build, and I want to try and get it so I could make it functional, because with live edit bridges you can't technically walk over them, but you can do a few tricks in the game to make it so you can. The reason why I didn't do it in this build is because the way that I normally do it is I basically build a room and then pull it down to kind of have almost like a little bit of a platform, a little bit of a foundation, and then you can connect some stairs and then Sims can walk over the bridge that way. However, you could probably tell that I placed down this bridge on a diagonal, and in The Sims 4, for some reason, even though this game has been out, 10 years, we still can't place stairs on a diagonal. And so yeah, unfortunately I couldn't do it, but I mean it looks really cute. And also currently you can see that I placed down some random tiles in the actual pond itself. In just a second you'll see I'll pop into gameplay mode and I'll make it so you can actually see the swans in the lake, and it just looks so magical, and I'm so happy with like how the front garden of this build looks. Also, something that I probably should mention, which I have kind of forgotten about until right now, but this whole entire build, by the way, is only built using the new expansion pack and the Sims 4 base game. The way that a CFE version of the game works, which is kind of like the early access version, is I only have the base game and the new content, and so that is also the reason why you can see my name on like a little blue tag jumping around on the screen. I didn't put it there. I didn't put it there to be annoying. It's just kind of like burnt into the game almost. And so, yeah, apologies if it's really annoying. Unfortunately, I can't change that. But yeah, this whole entire build is only built using base game and new DLC. And so if eventually, when the expansion pack comes out, you want to get your hands on this build and you have the new expansion pack, you won't be missing any content. But either way, moving over, as you can see, I very quickly just skimmed over the back section of the build. Now, it was very quick, and it was quick for a reason, because I still wasn't 100% sure what was going to be in there. If you saw it, don't worry, I change it. If you missed what the back of the build currently looks like, don't worry, because it looks horrendous and I do eventually end up changing it. But yeah, this is the point where I was thinking, I actually can't put like a hill behind the house, because the way that terrain manipulation works, if I wanted it to be lovely and smooth, you know, no lumps and bumps going into the back of the build, and it just be a lovely little bit of grass, I'm building on too much of a small lot, and I really wanted to build this house on this particular lot. And so I quickly did the back section and I shoved some columns to kind of make it look like it's holding the third level up. I change it, don't worry, you'll see the process. I thought, you know what, I'm going to revisit it in a second. I'm going to finish the front over here, and then I'm going to pop back over to the back of the build and just figure out what I'm going to do with it. I really wanted there to be some sort of kind of like tree house in this build as well. So you can see it kind of located on the back left hand side. I sized up a live edit tree and then kind of built a balcony around it. I purposely use a live edit tree, by the way, because the way that live edit trees work, your Sims don't really batter an eyelid when it comes around to gameplay, because if I would have used a regular tree for kind of like that back balcony section, the Sims are a little bit more aware if it came from like the regular build and buy category. You know, if your Sims actually had to spend money to get the tree, they're more actively aware that, you know, there's a big object there coming out of the ground. Whereas if you use a live edit tree in gameplay, it doesn't interfere with them. And so yeah, a little tip if ever you want to do some sort of like tree balcony section like I've done, or maybe if you fancy building like a tree house or something, I would definitely recommend using a live edit tree, just because for gameplay it just makes it a little bit more maneuver friendly, if you want to put it that way. But over here, as you can see, I decided to place down some shelves, funnily enough, onto some of the walls of this little fairy castle. At first, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit hesitant about it, because the kind of colour scheme that this build ended up being, it was very light and airy. You know, I've got this almost like white birch wallpaper, I've got this beautiful like baby blue scalloped wallpaper, I've got a little bit of stone here and there, but it's a very light colour scheme. And when I placed down the mushrooms, I wanted to use them in the classic, you know, red and white classic mushroomy kind of look, because to me, whenever I think of fairies and I think of mushrooms, first thing that pops into my head is a red mushroom with little white polka dots on. And so I was a little bit hesitant to use it, because I thought it was throwing the colour scheme of the build off. But then I kind of took a second look at the mushrooms and I thought, no, that does actually look really lovely, because it makes it feel a little bit more overgrown, and like this little fairy home, this little castle is like really nestled in to the forest place. And so yeah, I did decide to keep the mushrooms. Either way, over here, as you can see, I'm dealing with this absolute monstrosity that I created at the back of the build. To be honest, I'm probably being a little bit too hard on myself there, but it doesn't, see how it looks right now? Don't get attached to it because I end up changing it. Because the way that it looks right now, right, I've got the 3rd level, which is on a medium wall height, just starkly there, and it was just so weird with the way that I placed down the windows, and I wasn't liking it. So that very top bump out, I delete it, I pull the roof down, which dramatically helped it, and then underneath where that bump out was, I then make it so that the roof sits there, and then underneath it, that's where I end up placing down that new glass wallpaper. It gets there in the end, but like I said, this build was very much a trust the process kind of situation. I really came into this build thinking at the back of it, I can kind of make this little castle almost like nestled into the hilltop, but yeah, me and terrain manipulation, we wasn't having the best of days this day, but it gets there, it does get there. But you can see currently over here, I'm trying to almost like save the build in a way and just try and make it seem a little bit more interesting by incorporating some more of them vines that I placed down in the front section. And then again, I just placed down that new glass wallpaper, and then in that bottom section ends up being a little tiny greenhouse room. Even though it wasn't my intention, it does actually end up working out quite handy, because you see like the tree balcony that I created, which by the way, currently there is like an apothecary table kind of looking like it's about to fall off. I do fix that. I placed it down very quickly, but on the little like treehouse balcony, I placed down a apothecary table and then also a little fairy house as well. But initially when I came into this build, I was thinking that I wasn't gonna have any like staircase or any ladder leading up to it. I liked the idea of it just being a fairy zone only, and the only way that you can get up there was if you was to fly up there. But then the way that the build ended up panning out in the end, with adding in that section and then making almost like a second balcony on the back porch, I then was able to add a ladder. And so if you want to, Sims that can't fly can now also get up there. But yeah, I initially created the tree balcony for like a fairy only zone, but in the end, yeah, it does actually end up working out quite nicely, because now normal Sims can get up there. But either way, moving over, as you can see, I've now moved on into the inside of the build, and I'm currently coming in and decorating the kitchen. Now with the new expansion pack, we did get some new kitchen counters and cabinets. However, I wouldn't personally class this as, you know, like a full kitchen set, because we didn't get a new fridge and we also didn't get a new oven. However, there is some base game options, which are these black ones that I've decided to go for, which I feel like works quite well for like a little fairy castle in the woods. And so yeah, I use a base game oven and base game fridge, but then paired it with, yeah, these beautiful new kitchen counters and cabinets. I in particular love the new kitchen cabinet that is kind of up against the wall that goes from the floor all the way to the ceiling. That is just so lovely, and I like the fact that it's got open shelves, but the open shelves in the actual cabinet itself are just completely empty. You'll see shortly I do end up coming in and yeah, placing down some like little clutter pieces in there. Off memory, I think I placed down some like apothecary kind of like clutter items. I think I also placed down some books, which in my head I was thinking were like cookbooks or something, and then I also think I ended up placing down like a little plant or something. But yeah, no, I'm a big fan that they gave us this tall cabinet with a shelving unit that is completely empty, because for builds you can really customize it and make each build different. And I mean, like every single time I'm going to use that cabinet, I don't have to be restricted to use the same decorations, if that makes any sense. Actually, something that I just quickly popped onto the screen and then it quickly removed is we did get a new like backsplash, almost like a backsplash tile from the new DLC, but it's just so hard to use, especially with the new windows from this new expansion pack. It's very confusing because it's currently not on the screen. I'm just doing almost like the back section where if your Sims want to, they can get up to the balcony in the tree. But yeah, we did get a new kitchen backsplash with the expansion pack, and it is beautiful. And I do attempt to use it again in the bathroom, so if you, in case you missed it, it was very quick, you will see it again. But I love this new backsplash tile. It's so beautiful. It's kind of got this little moth in it, and it comes in so many lovely colours. However, if you try and use it with the new windows from the expansion pack, which by default, they're quite curvy, good luck, because the thing is, The actual backsplash tile itself, it's just like a one little square tile, and if you want to have it going around a kitchen and then also around a window, there's going to be clipping and the tile then merges into like the window glass. Hopefully you get what I mean, but yeah, I just wanted to let you know there is like a new kitchen options for like fairy kitchens. I just couldn't use it in this build, but either way, moving over, as you can see, I've now moved on into the sitting room. So in here, I used the new 3-seater sofas that we got from the expansion pack. I am a bit gutted because once again, the Sims team gave us a beautiful new 3-seater sofa and a matching armchair, but no 2-seater sofa version. Really gets on my chest when the Sims team do this. Like, please just give us a love seat version of the sofa. Don't get me wrong, I'm grateful that we did get a new sofa set, but just for like usability, I just feel like having a 3-piece sofa set, you know, like a 3-seater sofa, a love seat and an armchair, it's just lovely. But instead we got one 3-seater sofa and then also 2 armchairs. I've used one of the armchairs over here in this room. There's basically a version that's got like a little circular pillow one, and the second version doesn't have the little pillow one, which love it because sometimes you don't want the same exact armchair duplicated multiple times. But yeah, was a little bit gutted that we didn't get a love seat, but honestly, I wasn't actually surprised at this point. It's not the first time the Sims team have done something like this. But in that lounge room as well, I did also use one of the new fireplaces from the expansion pack. This footage is moving so quickly, but I'm trying to point out everything that I'm using. But for the most part, I used pretty much the whole entire new catalogue for this expansion pack. But we did get 2 new fireplaces. It's a really mossy one, which I was going to use, but just wasn't really matching the vibes that I wanted to go for. Instead, I use a wooden one. But over here, as you can see, I'm currently coming in and decorating a little home office. So in here, I use something which is so perfect for like future kids' rooms or like little fairy nurseries or something, and it's this new bookcase on the right hand side. Now in the new expansion pack, off memory, we got 3 new bookcases and then 1 like book object decoration, which does actually just function to be like a regular bookcase, but it's basically like a little stack of books. But yeah, in the expansion pack we got this bookcase and it's kind of like this tree that leans one way. It's got all these different shelves in it, but the Sims team gave us a version so the tree branch leans both to the left and then also to the right, depending on how almost like the room is laid out. I just love it, and I know that it's going to come in handy in so many different future like nurseries or maybe like infants rooms or something. It's such a cutesy bookcase, and I feel like for kids especially, we really don't have that many bookcases in the game that kind of work well for little nurseries and kids rooms. And so yeah, really excited about that new bookcase, and I'm so happy that the Sims team thought about it and gave us a version where the tree branch leans in different directions depending on how the room is kind of shaped. But either way, moving over, as you can see, I've now moved on into the bathroom. This is that tile that I was speaking about, which is kind of like a kitchen backsplash. I tried to use it kind of like running around the bottom portion of this bathroom because, like I said, the reason why I didn't use it in the kitchen is because the way that backsplash tiles work in the game, you can't place it down over a window and it not clip into the glass. And so initially I was thinking, oh, all right, I'll place it down to the bathroom and I'll kind of have it running on the bottom section so it doesn't interfere with any windows. But I just didn't like the way that it was looking, and for this bathroom, I wanted this one to be a little bit more woodsy in a way. I used this toilet that we got from the expansion pack, and it basically looks like someone's got a tree trunk, curved a hole out of it, and that's your toilet. So I want it to be very woodsy in that bathroom. I also placed down some like planters onto the walls and also like an odd mushroom. It's a bit more of a organic woodsy kind of bathroom. The upstairs bathroom, which you will see, ends up being completely different. That one's pink upstairs, but you will see that shortly. Either way, as you can see though, I've now moved over into the first bedroom. Now from the expansion pack, we've got this new beautiful double bed, and it comes in so many lovely swatches. We also got a new clothing rail and also some like little fairy clothes hanging on the actual rail itself. And something that I really like about it is the clothes that comes from that new decoration are actually stuff from Create a Sim from this new expansion pack. So there's like this one dress which is so beautiful, but it's actually in the game but then also on the clothing rail, so you can actually have your Sims wear it and it feels like they've just, you know, pulled it off their little clothes rail or something. But yeah, the new double bed that we got from this expansion pack, I'm a big fan on. I, however, still have a little bit of a bone to pick with EA around the bed situation, which, again, I will speak about when we actually move over and we do it. But currently, as you can see, I've now come in and started decorating that second bathroom that I was talking about. So in here, it's very different to the downstairs bathroom. Like I said, the downstairs one, it's very woodsy, it's very like organic, and it's just, there's lots of wood. Whereas up here, it's a little bit more like fairy, magical light, airy. It's a little bit pink in places. Like I use a pink tile on the floor, which I feel like I never use pink stuff in a bathroom. But we've got this new bathtub, which you can see I popped down to the corner. Beautiful. However, I'm not sure how much I'm going to be able to use it in other builds that aren't fairy related, but for this build it is just absolute chef's kiss beautiful. It's got these little like pink petals or like flowers kind of like built into the bathtub, and then also some like crystally looking things, and it's lovely, and it comes in so many different lovely swatches. That is actually something that I noticed about this expansion pack, is if we got an object, they gave us basically a whole entire category of different swatches, and all the swatches match, which is so nice, because so many different times in the game the Sims team will give us this beautiful object in this one particular swatch, and it will be the loveliest swatch. You'll never see it again on any other object. It's like this one door that we got from the Businesses and Hobbies expansion pack. They gave us this double door, and it had this like pastel purple colour. Beautiful. No other like windows or doors have that one colour, and it still irritates me to this day. But either way, besides the point, moving over, as you can see, I'm now started coming in and decorating the nursery. So like I've already mentioned, I feel like this expansion pack has a really good handful of different like kid related items. We've got this new little like acorn nightlight. We also got a new doll's house. We've got like a freezer bunny that's got little fairy wings. We've got like a few different toys. But then in terms of beds, from this new DLC, the Sims team decided to give us a beautiful new double bed, you know, the one that I use downstairs. We then also got a baby bassinet, the ones that Object Baby uses. We then also got an infant crib, you know, for an infant in the game. We then also got a toddler bed from the DLC. However, for some reason, the Sims team decided to give us a bed for every single life stage, apart from a single bed for either children, teenagers, or, you know, maybe even just a young adult. We've quite literally got a baby bassinet for an Object Baby that you can barely do 5 interactions with, but they didn't give us a single bed of the new bed from the DLC. Really wound me up. Like, I'm still wound up about it. Why did they do that? Like, if anything, I would get the most use out of a single bed version of the new bed from this DLC if they gave it to us, because the double bed is beautiful, but I can't really use it in like a typical, you know, suburban family home. The infant crib, yeah, right, I could probably use that. But in terms of a single bed, sometimes I want to have a little kid of a household who is just, you know, like a normal human sim, but they love fairies, and their parents thought, do you know what, I'm going to decorate their bedroom to be fairy coded. Why didn't you give us a single bed version of the double bed? I feel like all you got to do, and I mean, I'm no game designer, I'm no CC creator, I have not a Scooby how that works, but I feel like all you got to do is just go into the game or Blender or whatever software you use, get the double bed, chop it in half, and then you know, connect it so it doesn't look like it's been chopped in half. I feel like you've got the essentials there, and I don't know if the Sims team did it by accident. Maybe it's an oversight. I really hope it's an oversight. But yeah, it really did get on my nerves when I saw that for the first time, and I feel like I'm going to be irritated about it for a really long time, because the thing is, it wouldn't feel so annoying if they didn't give us a bed for every other life stage, but the most use I personally would get out of the Fairies expansion pack in terms of bedroom related items would be a single bed for a little kid. And I mean, if you've got some of the other DLCs, I feel like you could probably use another single bed and put it off as like a fairy bed or something, but it's not really the point though, is it? Like, with an expansion pack, if you're going to give us a bed for... do you know what, I'm going to stop banging on about it, but yeah, it really did irritate me, as you can probably tell. I'm still wound up about it now, but either way, in that bedroom, because we don't have a single bed, I decided to use a base game bed and try to do something fancy to make it feel a little bit more extravagant, and I placed down some stairs in that bedroom, leading up to that little sad base game bed that I had to use because the Sims team didn't give us a single bed. But either way, moving on, as you can see, I've now moved downstairs, and this is kind of the apothecary area of the build. Currently over here, I am stacking loads of different like skill books that we've got from this new expansion pack on top of each other to make it feel like a really like used and almost like lived in little home office. But yeah, like I said, with this new expansion pack, one of the new kind of features is the apothecary skill. Now I wasn't familiar with this term before this expansion pack. I didn't even know what that was, and that's why I'm struggling so much saying the new name of this term. But it's basically like an ancient thing of making medicines, and fairies can do it. And also I think normal human sims as well, but like the idea of having like a nice little medical doctor fairy living in the woods. You've got a tummy ache, got a headache, pop over to their house and they will make you some medicine. And so yeah, that is kind of the dedicated space for that skill. Over here though, this is pretty much a big greenhouse room, which it might be a little bit over the top, but like I said before in the past, if I've got a sim that likes to garden, it's just really handy to have a really big room for all their different like fruits and vegetables, and maybe they want to use it in their cooking or something, or maybe they want to use it in potential potions. I just thought having a big room like this with multiple different planters for your sims to grow all different sorts of stuff might be really handy. I also did place down a little flower pressing thing onto a little like computer desk area in this room as well. It's also kind of a new feature with this expansion pack. I did place it down into the kids room, but must admit I was just chatting your ear off about how I'm still wound up that we didn't get a single bed, that I forgot to mention it. But yeah, there is also a flower pressing section down here as well. But other than that, I'm going to go around the build, finish it off, and that is pretty much it. So anyway guys, I'm going to end this voiceover right here. I would say you can download this build on the gallery, but where I'm running a CFE version of the game, I do not have access to the gallery, and so unfortunately you're going to have to wait until after the pack is released for this build to be on the gallery. But other than that, again, a really big thank you to EA for gifting me a CFE version of this new expansion pack so I could do this build early for you guys. And if you guys do like my content, then please do subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in my next Sims 4 speedrunning video. Bye guys.